and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's a flag up there, right?
Carl's got a flag t-shirt on.
Suck ass in.
Need a taller flag.
He really pledges allegiance.
I guess Carl and I can trade places, that can help Bill.
No, we have a picture.
We just need to put the flag on Carl's.
We really ought to learn to say that accurately, you know, we don't. You know
What's that?
There's no comma between one nation under God. It's one nation under God. It's not one nation under God. It's one nation under God. There's no comma.
Does it make any difference?
No,
Please make
nobody,
it
you can't get people to do it. They've always done it the same way. Try to teach kids.
Well, I was taught.
Well, we don't get paid by the hour, I say we do it the
Where did
quickest
I
way.
Somehow I knew it was our fault.
Okay, gentlemen, a couple of general things, as far as so you can have in your mind, as we talked about maybe having an Ameren agreement to deal with in March. They are still negotiating and it will not be available for us for another at least couple of weeks. So it's not an issue that we need to at least be concerned with until all the nuts and bolts and the I's have been dotted and the T's have been crossed.
But they are actually negotiating
Yes, they
with
are.
Ameren now, so
That
that's
is correct.
okay.
Okay, but I thought I'd let you know. I'd like to, I guess, move right into it, and Andy, I hate to, you can be the coffee maker, but I thought we'd jump right into talking about the liquor ordinance, if you don't mind. We'll wait for Andy to leave.
Yeah, I'm here when you're done.
I will. Sorry, Andy. And jump in here, Augie, even though you were out, but we had a situation that popped up and the state's attorney asked me to discuss this with you gentlemen. We had, while Augie was down south, a vendor, quite frankly, a caterer that wanted to have a special events license from the state of Illinois, and it requires the county to approve those state events or the liquor license for a temporary purpose, either a 1 day or a 1 or 2 to 5 day. And so Terry and I asked the state's attorney to look at it. We pulled resolution, and we do not have the capacity to offer on a temporary basis to allow the state to approve a special use permit liquor license for anybody in the unincorporated areas of the county. So Bloomfield Barn, who had an event on Saturday night, was unable to have that event because the caterer could not get a permit. So
Does the permit go through the county or the state?
it goes, the state has, or the county has to approve them having it in their unincorporated area, and then the state approves it based upon that, okay? And we don't have a mechanism for that to happen. So the state, I went to the state's attorney, we discovered some other things in the 1993 that we are inconsistent with state law that we need to clean up. But I guess the simple question is, do you want to create a new class of license that would be called a special use liquor permit based upon what the state does for the unincorporated areas of the county?
So the state would still be handling all the licensing, all we're doing is saying you can do that.
That's correct.
This applies to anybody outside,
Only
like
in
south
the,
of town,
only in the unincorporated
or
areas
that's
of the county.
outside city limits.
Right. It would not include Kansas, Chrisman, and Paris. I mean, in any other incorporated area, or any other incorporated area that I'm unaware of.
Now, is this gonna be a permanent license?
No, no.
Every year?
It would be, well, it can be whatever you guys decide it to be, but the state already has a permit that on page 3, and it's for either 1 day or 2 to 15 days for a vendor, okay? Or, a caterer. For example, like if you had an art fair and they decided that the vendor was gonna come in, or a caterer was gonna come in and serve food and wine and charge for it. Couldn't do it. I mean, in anywhere outside of the, obviously I think the city of Paris would issue a permit, but if they wanted to have it out in the hinterlands in the county, it wouldn't be possible.
But this isn't okaying something so someone could build a tavern out in the middle of nowhere?
It is simply to, and it would be a caterers event, and obviously it would be built or drawn up so that you could all see what it is, and it would simply be a temporary permit. The only other license that we have available now is based upon Castle Finn and Andrews. So those are specifically designed for those. No, it would not be that you can put, now, if somebody came to us in 2 years and they had something else that we wanted to do, I don't think we need to open this up. It's just whether you wanna deal with this special need or whether you don't, okay?
Now, what happens to, like the barn up there, if we don't do this? They can't have any parties that have liquor, is
Well,
that correct?
Now, they can have an event up there where they don't charge for it. For example,
Wedding reception.
Ducks Unlimited or a wedding reception, where you go in there and they have a basket of beer on ice and they just give it away. That can be. But as far as charging for it, yes. Right now, we would not be able to put our approval on that so the state could move forward with that type of license. We don't want to open it up for bars. Nobody's requested it. I don't think anybody wants to see that, but only in certain venues that are properly insured and licensed and so forth are we interested. So, the state's attorney wanted me to get a consensus, well, I guess a consensus, or see if there was any questions, and wanted to have some direction on what we wanted done.
I don't see a problem.
Yeah, I really, not as long as the state's reviewing
Right.
each case.
So, is there some other issues we have on our county document? Would it be better just to reset and just make our county statute match the state?
That's pretty much what we're gonna review some of the other issues,
So
make
as
sure
opposed to
that.
as opposed to addendum, we're basically gonna rewrite it?
Right, we're gonna, I think, well, I can't say whether Mark is gonna call it an amend or whether it's a replacement. Either way, we're gonna leave in place the parts that are necessary for Castle Finn and and Andrews to still operate, and have the protection we need of families and churches and schools all into effect, which is in that document.
So that's the other question is, I assume that legally we can make our county statutes more restrictive. We can't necessarily make them more lenient.
Right,
Is that true?
that's correct.
And so there's no issue with Castle Finn and Andrews being more lenient?
No.
So, okay.
No.
Was there anything else that we know about that was something we want to keep as far as more restrictive on the county statute?
No, I don't think so.
It was sideways, I couldn't read it, I didn't read.
No,
So,
there's some things that are a little outdated, and I think once we get the state law out, the state's attorney can just pretty well match it.
And a lot of the outdated things, I think, are also on the state level.
This is another
Right.
thing.
You know, I know the state still used the term House of Ill Fame, so,
Yeah,
you know.
well, we wanna have the social
No, I
and
understand.
moral protections in it that it should
Right.
have, and maybe more up-to-date terms.
So is that what brought this up, is the barn up at Christmas?
Absolutely,
Okay.
right. So, if I don't hear any objections, I'm gonna go ahead and Augie and I will go to the state's attorney and see what documents need to be drawn up and how they need to be drawn up, and we'll get them to you, okay? Thank you, gentlemen. Let me go get Andy.
Who owns that? Who
Andy!
owns that barn?
Mark Magwell.
barn, yeah.
It's my place.
I know, I went by there, so I just wanted to know who owns it.
They could have
So,
still had
yeah,
it
Mark
without
Magwell
selling
owns
liquor,
North
right?
Shop in Chrisman.
You didn't have to close it, I mean,
No, but the flip side is,
that's,
if you give liquor away instead of selling it, then you're opening yourself up to other
well, I'm saying
liability
they
issues.
didn't even have liquor, they could have had it without any liquor at all.
Could've had ice.
Well, they had, sure, yeah.
Iced tea and lemonade.
Well, I don't know what the event was, if it was a wine tasting,
I
that
do.
would be pretty
It
hard
wouldn't have
to
gone over. No, it wouldn't. The event totally was not canceled. It was moved to the KC Hall, okay? So it wasn't a loss, it's just you know, it's,
Yeah, I don't know.
anyway.
One of those things nobody ever thought of until they tried to do it.
I did forget to ask if there was any public comments.
Yeah.
Do we have any public comments?
Gary?
Okay, hearing none, then we'll go on to committee reports. Andy?
I don't have a lot to report. I think
Good.
I got a call from Parrish Refrigeration. They got the vents back in the probation. That's complete at this point, so.
Have you talked to this guy about what we talked about? You wanna talk about it right now? I'd like you to, if you don't mind.
Well, okay,
More work for you, Andy.
yeah, just so you guys are aware, we're gonna have a story in Wednesday's paper. Some folks from Polk County, Pike County came over to look at the courthouse. Their courthouse was
Built by the
built
same
by the
architect.
same architect.
Right.
They haven't done this stuff on the inside that we've done. So we're gonna be running photos that shows the rotunda looking up at the stained glass skylight.
Ooh, not painted.
Not
painted,
painted.
I know.
Their elevator somewhere else, it's not in the middle of the building. They have, their courthouse, their main courtroom hasn't really been changed. So it still has the upper level gallery.
Really?
And-
Really?
Yeah,
Pike
so,
County, Indiana, right?
so I mean, those photos are going to be in the
I've been there
paper
many times.
and a little story about them visiting and why they're visiting. I mean, there's no criticism, just, you know, but it does point out that, as she said, they look the same on the outside, but there have been some drastic changes in Edgar County.
All right.
The visions over the years were totally different.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are the changes for, the good or the bad for Edgar County? Are they
Depends
saying,
on your
our-
mindset.
What do you think?
Are you more about utilitarian or are you more about
No,
architectural?
I don't give a crap one way or the other.
That's the kind of mindset that why we have the courthouse.
I just
museum.
wondered.
Thanks for your help.
I just wondered that the changes that we made, they wanna duplicate our changes.
No.
No.
That's the
Absolutely
reason why I was
Have you
asking.
ever been in this courthouse?
No.
I've been there many times.
Pike County,
Yeah.
Indiana?
I was there for 12 years.
I wanted to.
As a principal.
No, it's in Pike County, Illinois.
Illinois, never heard of that. Forget what I said.
No, don't write that down.
So-
Pike County, Indiana is still better than ours.
Their courthouse looks very similar to ours. You have to take a good look to see that there are differences. It has more of an octagon shape, and up in the dormers, there are rose windows. But if you were taking a quick look, oh, that's Edgar County Courthouse.
Road trip,
Road
Yeah,
trip.
what town is that close to?
Pittsfield. It's in-
I know where it's at.
It's in
I've heard
Pittsfield.
I've never heard of it.
I've never
Green.
been in it.
Pike County, Greene County, Edgar County, and there's
There's one more.
It's not Jersey County, is it?
Jersey.
Jersey County.
I've been to
Jersey.
Jersey too.
The guy built 5 courthouses. The one in, one of them has since been torn down. But there are 4 counties that are all, they're all similar. Probably Pike and Edgar are the closest in similarities.
That's not a good
So-
sign, is it?
At any rate, that will be in Wednesday's paper. And then Andy and I ran into Warren. He said that the foundation is gonna go ahead with the plan to hire the architect.
He told me not to say anything until he talked to me, and I haven't talked to him yet. so-
Well,
That's-
it's,
as long as he-
it's Warren, so.
Okay, that's one.
But he told me last week that they should approve it this week to hire them to create a master plan for the grounds.
Okay, that's good.
So we used to have the balcony at the courtroom.
It's still up there.
Oh, it's still there.
Oh,
That's where
The seating's gone, but that's where all the air handlers
the
are
air
now.
Oh, I
handlers.
see, okay.
You can, I can hardly wait for the coffee shop. You guys too. We'll be, why didn't we do that? Why didn't we do that?
Oh, well, we
yeah.
get
We
that
get that
all the
every
time.
day.
We get that every day, yeah. Yeah.
Start coughing up the money and we'll do it.
Yeah.
Cause it needs.
Well, that never seems to come up.
No,
No, never part of it, never, just never.
where's the money gonna come from? They don't care about
I'd
it.
be interested to see, I can't imagine it would be exorbitantly expensive to just get the paint off and get it cleaned up. Obviously, it's still obstructed by the elevator shaft, but that,
Right.
I would think you could probably get it done for, I'd like to think under $1,000, that's just a,
So where's the Linda at?
It's right at the
On
top.
the elevator?
You go up, yeah, you
Second
go
floor.
up
Go,
to the, you go up
That
the
little
stairs by the
stairway.
elevator and look up top. They've all been painted, but that's all the reality is it'd probably be pretty expensive because you probably need to have some of those windows redone at that
oh yeah, if
point.
you got into that, if you had to
That's
replace
gonna
that
be
red glass or
expensive,
whatever.
Right.
It's,
And just
I can't
replace
imagine what that.
It would be interesting to see what the, impetus for it in the first place, why they,
Why?
yeah.
I guarantee you, without that, it was a phenomenal lighting thing as the sun would come from different angles at different times of the year, would come through that, and without that elevator there, I'm sure it made.
Oh, you won't believe the photos that we've got of what it's
I
like.
guess that's
why they
looking
did
at
that.
Why
it.
they
I'm sure.
painted it in the first place.
Why they painted it?
Was there something, was there an
Why they
issue?
painted it?
Like,
Paint stained glass.
They painted the stained glass.
that's like something Dan would do, but I
Keep it
don't know
real.
if there was,
I wouldn't
was
do
your father,
Can we
grandfather?
refrain from personal attacks?
No, that's what this is about. This is my weekly catharsis.
I can take it. Doesn't bother me.
All right.
No, but it is, that was the whole, I mean, architects are, they're into the natural,
Well, there
things
was
that
a,
you do
Well,
by
and in all
building something
honesty,
like
in the
that.
last several years, we have worked on restoring a lot of things into the courthouse,
Right.
and, you know,
With
The
that's, the
floor.
paint on those are just, sounds like one more thing to keep in
That
the
would
list
get
of
the paint
mine for
off.
projects maybe down the road.
How would you get the paint off?
Well,
Depends on what
strip
kind
it
of
in
paint
some
it is.
manner, but I think you'd have to find out whether
Probably
you
more,
chemically
right?
strip it
well, you'd have
without
to.
etching the windows,
You
you'd have to find
certainly, yeah,
someone.
you couldn't use sand, obviously, and
Paint
you'd have to
and glue,
use
if it's
something that
oil-based,
wouldn't
you probably
destroy
could
the
use
color and
paint.
Right. I
Water
don't know
based,
why
will
they
do.
would paint
But they don't have
Say, I
water
wonder if
based,
there was
but
something
they-
else there, if some of the glass was
Hopefully,
damaged as opposed to.
it.
it. It all looks okay,
Yeah.
but,
well, something to keep in mind.
yeah.
Or if there was enough transparency where, you know, as that opens up, I mean, it's pretty filthy up there now, but if you were watching the bird droppings through the stained glass, maybe that lost some of the effect is.
Well, the pictures,
Diminished.
Winston may bring out somebody's idea to do something with the stained glass, that would be a good idea.
It could, yeah.
Somebody may want to donate the money
Well,
to
what it
refurbish.
does point to the fact is that we need to, and somebody said it here earlier, it's nothing I'm inventing, but we need to keep in mind anything that we do to, you know, if we can enhance the look and the character and still maintain functionality, we should do it.
You can do it smartly, you know, in that
Right.
case, at some point, it's going to need repainted anyway, well, that's when you stop and say, instead of
Showing a little extra.
instead of spending the money to put more paint on, spend the money to take the paint
You can
off.
highlight something or whatever.
Well, that elevator's a scar on it, but I don't know, that would be, that's a massive undertaking,
Yeah,
right? to
no, I
get
don't
that-
think we're ready to do that.
you know.
That was a decision that was made a long time ago, and for the
I kinda
time,
like
it
the
was
elevator.
probably the right thing to do, and
I don't wanna walk up those steps.
Well, no, we need an elevator, we just don't necessarily need a, you know, cinder block shaft, you know, put right in the middle of that rotunda, it's kinda,
Okay.
Where you gonna
I
put it
don't know
in?
much about elevators, that they go up and down.
they do most times, yeah.
Yes.
That's the 90% solution.
Dan, do you have anything? We'll come back to
Uh,
Andy in a minute.
Animal shelter, Ross has everything basically working out there, so I did send him an email thanking for spending time, so I think about everything out there is working
She's
the way it
happy
should
now.
be by now, so,
There is.
yeah, I talked to her a couple times.
She gave me a nice call also.
Yeah, I
That
gave,
was good.
send him,
And in that note, we do have a work order sheet that's gone out to everybody that when they need something down, they fill that out. Now, in an emergency, obviously, things, they can do it in retrospect, and I'm getting a copy of it, so we know what's going on and prioritization. If there's something that needs to be moved up the list, please don't hesitate to say something, okay? So we can
Still doing
get
the
there.
paper side of the house, like physical papers,
Yeah.
doing email.
Okay.
uh,
Did you have anything else that you want to come back to?
I don't think right yet, but.
I went to the Amaron meeting last week, there was like 20, 25
Oh, yeah. How'd that
people
go?
there that have property that's gonna be affected. I came away with the idea that it's not gonna make much difference what happens, it's gonna happen eventually. I know Craig and a couple of the others were going to Springfield the next day to go to court for something, I really didn't catch all of it. One guy's complaining because they've started to drill on his property, check the soil, he didn't know if that was legal or not.
Core borings.
Yeah, right, so it's gonna happen eventually, I feel sorry for them, the ones that don't want the power line coming through their property, but I don't think there's a lot they can do, so it's just a matter of time. they asked a few questions, you told me not to say much, which I didn't.
Well, we all, not just,
Yeah. But I did mention the road usage, and I said, eventually you'll probably have to do something about it.
I'm gonna go hang myself.
We don't protect our roads, so I told them, this particular time, you know that we are against the power line, but we got to do something about the roads, so. Other than that, it was all right. They, thanked me for coming, and I
Yes,
thanked the
and
board
thank
for
you for
sending
that
somebody.
report.
Pardon? Yeah, they said, I'll tell, some said, don't tell the board this, some said, tell the board this, so I said, don't say anything, so.
So we're all even then?
Yeah, we're all even, right. The property on Eaves and Woods, they have tore down the, store, process of cleaning it up. The house, I think, is private property, so right now we can't do much about that, so
But it does look better.
it looks better, right? It's just a slow process. Other than that, I have nothing.
Is there a contractor coming, tearing, that tore
I
the
don't
house
know,
down?
there's, I can't figure out who did it because there's no signs on the,
Mhm.
They got that little bitty
yeah,
cat that takes forever to do anything with it.
they brought in a big bucket to knock down stuff and that one disappeared, so now they got a little tractor, so I
The
don't know.
tree, is it all gone?
The tree, half the tree's gone, the half that's on the house, can't do
Still
nothing
there.
with that. The other half, the other, somebody's cutting it up for the wood, so they're
Okay.
kind of a slow process.
Okay.
But it is getting there.
It's getting there, it's taking time. There's a big concrete foundation, which I don't know what they're gonna do with that.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
John,
Water's still flowing downhill.
get that going for us.
Where's that at?
What, Carl, do you have anything to,
Other than we've got a meeting at 11 o'clock today with the union on overtime and health issues discussion.
okay? Yep. Phil?
Good.
Okay. And you always have something for us, so.
We're
Derek?
looking for this.
Surprise, surprise, everybody's excited to hear it. All right, so, the advisory committee met, went over some issues, and so I'm just gonna use that as my jumping off. We had, worked on some of this is kinda new to me. There was concern about the curb that has basically been developed by the, new resurfacing of the access road. So they wanted to know if there was any way that we could rock that, build it up, so if you're, I guess there's a concern, I haven't been out there to look. I mean, have you been on there, Carl?
I've been on it, but I didn't
I
notice
didn't look
that.
over to
So
the side.
their concern is that if you drive over the edge, you'll break it down.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Apparently it's high enough that there's a concern there. I guess it's more for the vehicle themselves. I don't know if I don't imagine it's steep enough that the vehicle would roll over, but
What are we talking?
Where is this?
Up at the
at the
airport.
airport, we resurfaced the access road into the
How
airport.
long a stretch is it? Is it
All
like
of it, I
100
think, is
feet?
what they're-
Oh, they wanna go the whole,
I don't know. I have to go out and walk it, but
All right.
that's,
we may be able to get the highway department and pay something to them to go out with day labor and see if we can handle it.
What do you want, a gravel part of it?
whatever
something.
would make- That would make more
Probably
sense
I-
to me, but I don't.
Like a shoulder?
They barely
Shoulder.
know.
Basically, when they paved it, they raised it up enough, there's a
How
drop.
long,
yeah.
how thick did they put the stuff on?
1 inch.
Half inch?
1 inch?
Yeah, it shouldn't
Yeah,
be.
Now you got a little
Yeah,
bit
it
of
wasn't all
ledge.
that
Not
much.
much of a, not much of a ledge.
But,
So it's about an inch higher than it was before, by my calculations, so.
but if you put in some bituminous material with fines, it is bituminous.
Yeah, so just something to look at. I don't know
We'll take a look at it.
what it would cost or,
Yeah.
but, there's a concern there. So, I talked to Terry, grabbed the, T-hanger leases. We were in the process of modifying those, and then, bigger fish, appeared in the fryer. So, circle back around to that. And some of the things we discussed about it that I'd like to implement, and so definitely want your input on it. But, as far as the T-hanger lessees, the plan moving forward will be, there will be a line on the lease that said, from the airport manager's perspective, I have seen a current copy of their insurance, so he
Right.
looks at it, he signs it off, hands it back. We don't hold any insurance contracts. It'd be a different story for our main hangar in the business, but that's a
Right.
different,
That's
of course, a
correct.
different color. They wrote up a preference for flyable aircraft. Actually, obviously that behooves us because flying aircraft buy fuel and things of that nature. And how they wrote it, and I think it was pretty well worded and a good way to do it. It says, preference for aircraft capable of flying. At least review last annual date for airplane. If greater than 2 years since last annual, hangar becomes available for rent if an applicant has applied with a flyable airplane. And 2, if kit building, 2 years from start of lease to expected certification. So I think those are reasonable, and that would, again, benefit us. If we don't have anybody in the hopper, then the person that's currently has the non-annual aircraft can maintain their lease, but they're subject to someone that has a flyable aircraft coming in. So I think that's perfectly reasonable. There was a thought, and I would like to do some more number crunching and checking on this, but apparently I think it was Decatur or Effingham. One of the two, instead of doing parlor fees, do a $100 daily fee. I don't know how that shakes out. If it would be, a plus for us, and it wouldn't be a material change or a massive increase in cost to the aircraft flying in and out. I think that's certainly worth looking at. It's a little easier to keep on top of than maybe the parlor fees, plus some methodology in order to keep that, stay on top of it. So I think that's a good deal. Any thoughts on that? Or anybody have any input, insight?
What is the parlor fee amount to it?
Yeah, how does that work?
It's
out?
15 cents per gallon.
Per gallon?
In other words, FS goes in there.
We're talking about the spray planes
Okay.
in the summertime is what we're talking about, the crop dusters.
So they typically bring in their own fuel because it's a fast turn. So they come in, they land, they're gassed and loaded with chemical from their own trucks. They had to use our facilities, especially in their current setup. That's not very efficient. So
rather than charging 15 cents a gallon or the exact amount you're talking,
Right. And
it's
they
just a
actually
straight
have
under the day flat fee.
$100 a day or 200 gallons of fuel purchased, which they wouldn't do. So it would be the $100 fee. And obviously, our guys that rent the main hangar would not pay that necessarily.
Right.
Or at least we work something out with them.
Yeah,
since it's
I was up there at the airport one day. Jake Barrett was there, and Tom, and I think Spencer was there. And that subject came up about the parlor fee, because the parlor fee, there's no way for us to know for sure how much fuel there, it's just an honor system. And Tom was keeping a log of all the planes going, what days they were there and everything. And he said it'd be a whole lot simpler just to charge a flat fee. And they know that up front, that if they're flying one day, they're charged a certain amount. You don't have to keep track of that. And he documents every day that they're there, and it makes sense to me.
About the same amount of money coming in, but easier to take care of.
Well, it's 666 gallons, roughly, of fuel.
666.
And some days they'll use that much, but that'd be
Push
pushing.
on the high side.
And, yeah, it's on the high side. But, whatever they figure out, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it's just a
I don't
matter
wanna-
of getting a number that's half equitable for the system we have
The only thing
now,
I can
so.
think of is some days they'll come in on a Saturday morning and they'll fly for like 1 or 2 rounds.
Yeah.
And then it gets a little salty. But, I mean, that's for you guys to.
So they do come in,
They may come in and like they'll
Half
fly
a
for
day charge
3
for that,
days
yeah.
and then they'll come in to finish up the 4th day. And, I don't know how you wanna deal with that. That's the only thing I could think of. I'm not trying to throw a twist into the deal.
No, that's good to
You
know.
could have
Or the
you
weather
know, just-
closes in on you.
just for example,
Yeah.
100-day, all day, and $60 for half day or something,
Well, if we could figure out, get from those guys, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's an average fuel burn. I mean, no one is flying anything other than, a jet powered turboprop, and there's probably not a lot of difference between the two. So what their average day is, fuel burn, and if it's,
we
let's say it's 500 gallons a day, then I think they're gonna come out on the,
But there's no way, the exact number of gallons they use.
Well,
right?
now,
They
on
just-
crop
they could
production,
tell it, they could
I
give
was
us
able to
information.
give them, I supplied
Well,
Tom.
yeah, right.
Because
Yeah.
they flew 2,800 gallons last year, which is $420.
Mhm.
Okay? So I know, but that's a unique situation that I can
Yeah.
press the computer and come up with the gallonage.
Right.
Oh,
We're not that lucky.
we can get the, I assume it's Tom Patchett, and who else is flying out of there most of the time?
There was that
Pontiac
big-
flying,
4 or 5.
Yeah,
let's see, The folks that got the,
Mills is.
Mills
At times, there's been up to 6 of them.
Yeah, well, I'm
Different
just
ones
saying,
flying
yeah,
in there.
ASC flies out of there.
yeah, I'm just saying, I wouldn't mind getting input from some of the guys that are the regulars up there, because it's in their best interest to keep it simple too. You know, not that we're gonna go with the number they give necessarily, but wouldn't mind having their input.
Back to the leases, the board has historically passed on leases before they've started to be executed. I don't know whether you still.
That was
want
my
to.
plan, I just assumed you had to put.
The other thing is, we've had a 1-year lease or multiple year leases. I guess we could do it where if a guy wants 1, 2, or however.
So the way the lease is worded, I don't have one with me, is, basically, they'll be renewed, will be renewed every year barring something coming up. So-
Automatically?
Right, but we
Okay.
can set that up, I would prefer to do that, but basically they just re-sign. It's not like you have to rebid or try to get your
It's
spot,
up to you.
but every year, just because of the insurance issue primarily, I mean,
Right,
so.
that's right.
So we'll set it up, that's how I will get it, written out, and so I'll work that piece and.
Is there anything in the main hangar right there?
Nope.
Nothing in, but there's
We have
still,
a lease
somebody
still.
still renting.
Well, yeah, somebody's leasing it, but there's nothing in there.
That's what
Half
I-
of it is leased.
But there's nothing in that part
There
that's
was
being
talk
leased.
about somebody that had 2 airplanes, that was, I don't know where that's gone, so.
Tom was negotiating with somebody.
Yeah, so, and the Mills, it's not Mill, I can't
But
remember.
we're still getting rent on the
Danny
main
and the other
hangar.
guy.
We're still getting some rent on the main hangar.
Yeah, they're paying for it, so, I mean, that's a great deal, those guys have been great to work with, so, I don't think they'd have a problem. And that was kind of going in, we discussed, you know, in case something comes up during the off months, and so they've been great to work with, so I have no complaints
Okay.
there. They want to, I got harassed at the Farm Bureau Day meeting about the windsock issue, that's not something we need to worry about. I will
Oh, yes.
discuss with Barry, so we have some, we're putting those windsocks back in. I don't know if that's something we want to explore. I don't know what it would cost to actually permanently mount those once we know that they're in a legit place, they're not a hazard of flight. If we want, because I mean, they were just posts that were.
They just take them
They
down.
took a, right, because, and I think the issue was, is even though they were offset to the side, they were still in front of the plane of the approach end of the runway. So if it's foggy out and you're a little off, that could be bad. You catch one of those in the face, but, once we find out from our engineer where the best place to put them, as opposed to just taking the bucket of the loader and pushing a pipe into the ground, maybe we set them in concrete or something. But I think that's a valuable thing to,
What about the beacon? How's that coming?
still waiting on that. Tom submitted, more paperwork. That's an issue that, I said, that has been frustrating to me. Going to the state, the individual that is earmarked to assist with those kinds of things, projects that, you know, need replacement, and getting compensated for that on the, with the federal dollar side of the house. You would think that this is not an uncommon practice, and you would think that there is a way to do it. So you would think that he would be able to pass via email or document to Tom, say, here, this is what you need, the template you need to follow, let's not reinvent the wheel. However, that's not been the case. Tom submits, he goes, that's pretty good, but can you make it better? Better how? You know, so that's the kind of issue where the veins are popping out of my
The only
forehead.
time you use that at night,
I
right?
swear
Same on
people.
ever land at the airport or use the airport at night? The
Well-
beacon would be the only one, the time you actually need a
If it
beacon,
was
right?
really foggy out or
Oh,
really
yeah,
cloudy, I mean,
yeah, okay,
it's a light, it spins, it makes airplanes safe,
yeah,
so.
okay,
Yeah, the biggest advantage of having it up there is for an emergency landing.
yeah, true,
You know, somebody knows they're landing there, but if they happen to be flying by and
right.
need a spot,
You can turn the lights on.
They're pilot controlled lights, you have to be up the freak to do it, so if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you have an issue, I don't think that those,
Kind of.
I don't know what the runway environment looks like at night, I don't know if it's already pre-lit, if you would, I mean, you'd have to be up on your charts and dial in the VHF to click the lights on, but, so, I mean, the beacon does point out an airport, if you're an extremist, there's not many bug smashers flying around in the middle of the night.
No.
It's not a common practice, but it is there, and so
No,
if you're instrument
yeah,
quality, you
need
can do
it,
that.
right.
Currently, it's NOTAM'd out, so when you prepare for a flight, print out the NOTAMs to kind of the areas you're flying over, and it says, you know, I think we're in NPR, Cape Paris Airport, currently beacon is down, so that they're aware of it. So it's not an emergency that we get it put back in as soon as possible, but we'd like to get it done.
Yeah.
So, it may come to the point if we get much more pushback that we pursue a different method.
Is
Looks
there any way
like
we
the
can put
price of
beacon
it-
in, pay for it, and then try to get money that we spent for it?
That is a possibility, but that sounds like there's more issues of getting compensated. And at the end of the day, if we can run into much more problems, we're just gonna pull the trigger on it, is my
Yeah.
It
preference.
seems to me like isn't it around 10,000?
Less.
No,
A
that
little less than
expensive.
Should
10.
be, I think Tom said 5,500 or something like that. So Champagne Lighting, which is the company that did our Crossman runway lighting, so, and that's all they do. They said, you know, the current platform you're using, the actual light is antiquated, there's no way to replace it, you have to send it off to be refurbished. And that was gonna cost us, I think it was like 15 or something like that, it was a high dollar amount.
15,000?
Yeah. So the alternative is a newer light, newer system to totally replace it. Not the tower itself, but just to mount the new system on top was in the ballpark 5,500. So he's got 3 other bids on it. Champagne was still the lowest. So that's the ballpark we're talking about. If we can't get satisfaction from Springfield, my next move is a phone call to that guy. And a hey you type thing, and then after that we may I'll come back to you and ask that we just move forward, because
What about
and maybe
the-
that's how it works, is, you know, make it so difficult to actually get money that no one uses it.
Yeah, this has been going on for what, 3 months?
We're coming up on it, yeah.
How much is the cost on it? I'm sorry.
About 5,500, I think.
Well, can we get I mean, we could
That's
go
what I
ahead with
said,
it.
that's a comment
I mean,
I
we
made.
have the
Yeah.
funds to go ahead with it,
Mhm.
and then we could get reimbursed,
Right.
or?
So along those lines,
I'm sorry,
so
keep
Dan,
going.
That's what I said too.
Dan said that too.
Dan said that?
Dan was on top of it.
I hate to be in
Yeah.
the same class with Dan.
You're close.
I'm making a note. Jeff asked the Dan question.
Don't forget by 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, by doing this. So the issue is what I was told is it's more difficult to get refunded if you go that route. So my next move is find out where this one went. If there's any issue at all, I'm calling Springfield and I'm gonna talk to that guy and see what's going on. And if he gives me the wrong answers, then I'm gonna tell him what he can do to himself, privacy of his own home, and then we're just gonna pursue other options. So again, it's not prohibitively expensive. We can figure out.
Just know that it's an option. And
Yeah.
trust you to handle it the best way.
Whenever you get
That's
so frustrated, you want to move
Start
on.
saying, we're just
That
start with
sounds
that.
Just don't-
saves money.
Just don't hit your head
Exactly.
against any by 2 minutes material, okay?
Very well. Let's see. Finally, last thing was they did have 3 more recommendations for the advisory committee, and I'm trying to think where we're at with that. We're short one. So
But we can expand it. I mean, what difference does it make? If you've got interested people,
yeah,
we need all the
more,
support we can
more the
get.
merrier. So the individuals they gave me were Mike Davis, Doug Sutton, and Rick Wilkin. So we can mull that over, or you can let me know for the next study session which ones we can put on and vote on for the meeting.
I know one of them.
Say, give me those.
Mike Davis, Doug Sutton,
Doug would be good.
and Rick Wilkin.
Rick would be good.
I do have a question. If we get time.
To me.
Yeah. If I remember right, and Carl may remember us, there is a specific number for the advisory committee, right? That would have to be changed by resolution, wouldn't it, the number?
I
think
can't
it-
remember what it
Well, I do, I
says.
remember there was
I
like.
think it says at least,
Yeah, I think something.
it bears looking at.
I think, okay,
I also know larger committees are not always better.
right.
I mean, I understand the idea of wanting to get more people involved, but if they have to do something,
How many's on the committee now?
Carl, why you ask the hard questions? Yeah, it's
6.
Jake, Joe, Spencer, Blake. Who am I missing?
You.
Notionally, Carl and I. Okay, so we need 2 more.
Can you count your fingers?
Sometimes it's a challenge.
Well, you don't want to have an even number, do you?
Here's what we're gonna do. We'll go back, we'll look at the original document. If it says 7 or whatever, we'll go with that as our master plan.
I don't
We will
think
have
7, I think it's
enough
5.
members, so if Carl and I are not there, they can continue on with their advisory meeting.
I'm on that.
Any issues with
committee,
that?
I think.
All right.
I'm on the committee.
So why
You're
weren't you
on the
last
board
advisory
committee.
I'm
Yeah,
saying,
that's
yeah.
not the same as
You're
this.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
I think you're the only one that's on the committee,
Both committees.
both committees. You're the only board member actually on the advisory board.
Okay. I didn't know how that.
Derek?
Oh, lucky me.
Derek,
All right.
Derek, it used to be the 3 board members who made up the airport committee,
Mhm.
plus 4
We're
at large
Right.
in the
That's- I thought
county.
that
So that was a 7-member board.
right.
Along the way, we decided to try to make that a little more efficient, and we just now have 1 member on the airport committee who's working with the advisory board.
So you've got all that documentation on, like who's on the committee, you've got the original one, how, when it was set up, you can find all that for us, couldn't you?
I can dig around and
Got one of those.
try to find that, and there should be some advisory board minutes somewhere, somebody's taken out there.
It was also
But
specific
yes.
on what type of people should be on the advisory committee. I remember it actually dictated like somebody was a pilot, somebody was this, somebody was this, somebody was this. But that's, I'm pretty sure it was. You might want to check.
Well,
We'll look into it.
yeah.
All right,
Yeah, let's,
just, this just in. Email from Tom. This is from, Mr. Scott Payton at this Springfield. Tom, looks a bit better. Not use such a brief RFP. Well, it appears you have described your project and the 3 items associated with it. Here are a couple things for your consideration. 1. Would it be wise to require any bidder to physically visit the site? 2. As far as qualifications, the AIP handbook urges this to happen before bidding. By that, you are to avoid or mitigate the possibility of a bidder protest. It is highly encouraged that you, the sponsor, review qualifications of potential bidders before opening their bid. Typically, if you open a bid, you're considered a bidder responsible. It would be struggle to convince us to move on to their other than low bidder after you open their bid. Recommend requiring a statement of qualifications possibly a week before bids. Is it coming out yet? I've spoken with Rob Hahn regarding an airspace submittal for this project, FAA Form 7460. As long as the new beacon will not be significantly higher than the old one, it will not be required. I am assuming the power to existing beacon is in satisfactory condition. With that in mind, I'd make it clear to the contractor is responsible for proving a fully functional operating beacon. Those are the brief comments I had. I'm sorry I've been quite busy around here. So delayed reaction to what was submitted last Thursday, I think.
so what does that mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what I
What
was-
does that mean?
What does it
It means that
Means
Springfield
that
is not being helpful, is what
He's
that
been working for the
means.
state way too long.
They watch these
It means
videos.
make sure to let the bidders come look at it before they,
How much are they gonna pay them?
The whole thing is my understanding. But again,
So there's where
this
the problem
point.
comes in. If you pull the trigger and do it yourself, it may not meet their specs, and they'll go, well, but we can't pay for that because that's,
I think they're just looking for it out.
yeah.
So, and just as an example, so the form that he submitted, and I can show that to you guys, he's asking questions, would it be wise to require that any bidder to physically visit the site? Well, Champagne's been out there. Why, how would that be on an official requisition form? What would you need to put in there? You know, it's on and on and on and on. So, I can, I'll-
Just shovel it right back to him, say, yes, Champagne did come down and look at it, so that, yes, it has been physically.
I will proceed with what I talked about. I will review this, I will call Springfield, and I may at the next study session say, hey, I'd like to submit that we just pay for this thing, and
Try to get the money if you can, and if you
You
can't.
try to get the money back.
so be it.
2 weeks to see if he comes up
Because-
with anything that makes sense.
You know, this is a waste of time and resources dealing with this, so.
You know, this isn't a $55,000
No,
project or
right.
$550,000. This is.
No, they'd ran that right through in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
So why are we bidding it out? Or do we follow the $30,000
Because
Because we wanna
This
be
is part of the-
reimbursed.
We just, so you have to get bids in order to get reimbursed, that's the issue?
And apparently have to have a business site and have, you know, certifications.
I missed that somewhere, okay. Thank you.
So, yeah, we'll proceed as I discussed. Back to the committee members, I think, and this has kind of been up in the air, we've talked about it in the past. The intent was, last week we discussed this, was to make sure we had enough appointed members to the advisory committee to basically take the spot of board members that may or may not be there. So in order to do that, we would need to replace 3. right?
Right.
And so current count, again, if I'm correct here, is Joe, Jake, Spencer, and Blake. Those are the four currently
And you.
on. Four currently on.
Yeah.
So in order to fit that bill, those three would basically hit that wicket for us. So,
Well, I think we do need to keep one board member from the committee on it.
I'm going to nod my head at you, and you will, yes,
Well,
yes.
So let us know what you
I
want to do.
wholeheartedly
what
agree
you want to
with
appoint.
the concept of that, John. All right, so expect that next study session, I'll put that out, propose it. If anyone has a major disagreement with any of these three individuals, please let me know. We'll proceed with that next month.
Who's Mike Davis?
I don't know.
I know a couple Mike
Those
Davises.
two.
It's not Randy Davis?
Are you
But-
asking me?
Yeah, remember
I don't know any Paris people, come on.
Jeff?
No, not that I'm aware of. I
You
don't
know-
know who Randy, I
He
submitted.
said he was interested,
Yes.
It's probably him.
so I don't know Mike Davis.
Does he go by Mike? Is that his?
No.
And
He does
Doug Sutton at the
I
roller
don't
rink?
Doug, yeah.
Doug's
No, no,
Is that a different, this has to be a different.
it's a
one.
brother.
He's a nurse, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he is.
On roller skates?
Randy owns it.
Randy Sutton.
No, Randy's at the
I know
gun shop
Randy.
Yeah.
Doug's the younger brother.
Yeah,
at the roller rink.
He was my age.
yeah.
But he's a nurse when I was at the hospital in Terre Haute Union or something.
If you'd like, I'll have Joe give me a brief bio to kind of
Yeah.
tighten these up.
I mean,
You have a list of who's been appointed on there, don't you, Augie?
Just Spencer and
I
Blake
tell you
in
what,
recent
when-
history.
The airport has been all clustered up, as we all know. And we suspended the advisory board activity
Right.
and basically brought it in to the county board to make the decisions until until it got calmer, until the waters calmed down.
But
And
we
then-
haven't appointed some in actual meetings. We
Then-
appointed some.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what I'm talking about.
I would have to go back and
Spencer
find
Blake.
those,
that's
yes.
what we
But I
need to
think we
find.
appointed some before that too, with Joe.
That'd
We
be
appointed
George
Joe
Sutton,
and some of the
And
others.
Spencer
Spencer,
and Blake.
Barrett.
Barrett,
We did appoint
who's the other
several
one? The older
of
guy
them.
Yes.
was on there.
So we need to
Built
look
the
at who's.
airplane.
All right.
Some of that's prior to me.
All right, we're getting, I mean, we
Yeah.
need to have the
Spinning
committee
the
do
wheel.
their thing.
Barkley.
And
was another
you-
one.
Yeah, he resigned.
Yeah.
So, okay, anything else?
The big project.
Thanks. Talked to Steve, Thursday, Friday. He said, he apologized for not getting back to me. He said that he hadn't seen anything yet from their general counsel. He was gonna follow up and get back to me this week. So, the question mark or what he got from them, and this is kind of the game of telephone, but their question, the council's question to Steve, or the one gray area they were trying to suss out was land zoning vice airspace zoning, and what are, and so that's all I have, so that's not a lot, but that's kind of where we're at, so. And with that, that is all.
Thank you. Let's see, we're going to have a meeting with, actually, it's a representative meeting. Brant Holbrook is gonna be here next, Tuesday afternoon to get some concerns from some of our staff and elected officials. So we're gonna meet and, discuss with him some of the things that we're concerned about. He's gonna explain the state budget, which that ought to be a treat to explain that. At any rate, and a meet and greet
Don't have
and
one.
make sure that our folks are aware of who they can get a hold of for particular needs, and so that's what.
Where is this?
Well,
Is
this is, it is not a posted meeting, and there can't be more than 2 board members there. And he's requested a couple of people be there, so we're covered on that, okay? So, at any rate, I just thought I'd be upfront and so you'd know what was going on. You got a copy of the budget. We're at a little over 20% expenditures versus 25% of the year going by, so we're in pretty good shape. Even some of, what's the matter?
Sorry, I'm calendar vice fiscal, got it. Sorry.
Yeah, well, see, our year starts December 1st. We've got, and all the bills and everything else, the batches are in, so we're at a little over 20% expenditures. Now, you can't look so much as income, because income is weighted more in the latter part of the year when we start getting property tax and some of the other things in later in the year, so. We're obviously gonna be dealing with a couple of departments that have some, yes,
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead,
Um,
while you're thinking about it.
Thanks. Andy, did you get anything back from our little walk-in to Augie's office?
I haven't.
Okay, that's something, and maybe Jeff, maybe you're dialed into it enough to talk about, sorry to derail the train here. Talking about our responsibility as a county to pay off the clock tower project, where the timeline lines up. I know Carl, that's something you're tied into as well and concerns. I just wanted something laid out for us as far as where we are with that. Are we gonna come up on a date here in the near future? Has it already commenced where we are on the hook for large sums of money, and do we have
For
that
another 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 total? Okay, and that's both the bonds that were issued and the banknotes that were issued?
Well, now, the banknotes we're already paying on. I mean, everything's being paid on.
Right.
We're just using other funds. And we have put in, I think, $50,000 into that fund, in the last couple of years, but prior to that, we put in, I think, 36,000 one year,
I don't.
somewhere around there. But
Off the top of my head.
we are behind,
That's what
On the banknotes or the bond? Just
No,
The city pays the first
half the bond issue?
right,
Okay.
then we pay the second half. And we were supposed to rat hole the money for the first, while city was paying off the bonds, so then we could pay off
The second
the
half.
second half. And we did that in 11, does that make sense? 11 or 12?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. So it's a 20 or, is it a 21-year bond or 22, somewhere in there? At any rate, so. 20-something. So if you figure, the city's making 11 years worth of payment, we're into the 56
The
year.
earliest, if it was 20-something, would be 2021 would be the
Yeah.
earliest we would be on
Right.
the hook for something.
Right.
Okay. And then with that, and I don't know how that side of bond world works, I know that basically we as an entity make payments to, I think it's Bank of New York Mellon,
Right.
right? And they issue the dividend payments to those bonds, right?
That's correct.
And so do we know what that dollar amount is? Like, is what?
It's in the
Is it-
last
is it-
audit.
Is it set in stone as far as what the city is currently paying now meets the
Yes.
coupon of those bonds, and therefore
Yes.
ours would be the same, it's the same coupon, so expect in 2021, we're gonna pay, you know, something like maybe 5% or 4% of.
There's a sketch,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah,
And I think, the last I looked, I think it was in the audit every year. And it shows you where we are, what coupons have been clipped, what hasn't, and what the payments are. There's a schedule of payments, okay? For year 1 through whatever many years
10
there are,
or, yeah, 10
Yeah.
plus.
okay?
And so we know what that ballpark is, and so
No,
was
I
the-
mean, I haven't done anything,
So, I mean, is it gonna be 70,000, is it 700,000, I mean, what's that, is it?
I cannot tell you.
I'd like to know that, Augie, if you can run that down for me. So,
Yeah.
what the date our responsibility begins, whether it's 2021 or otherwise, what our annual fee due on those bonds is gonna be, and what our.
Well, there's a
that's
principal
where
and
we're at.
interest payment due every year, and it's twice a year.
right.
That's how the bonding works?
Yeah, and there's an amortization schedule.
Right, and that's what
We'll
I'm
just,
talking about.
we'll just
That's
follow
what-
that
right.
right
So
to the
What we
T.
looked at, the first payment is interest only, the second payment is principal and interest.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we already paying that though, there was something in there we were already paying.
We are
We are,
We are
Well, we
because the
are,
city
but the
issues
city
us
gives
a
the
check,
money.
and then we pay it.
Okay, so it's all on us, the
Right.
city's base, okay, they're not paying direct.
No,
Okay.
okay?
Okay. So we know exactly what we're gonna be paying.
Yeah.
So we need to know,
Absolutely.
we need
So
something in writing when our responsibility takes over.
Right.
And
It's
how
there,
much
I've
it's
seen
gonna,
it.
Yeah.
be and how much we got in that fund.
Couldn't find
It's
that.
That's
not
easy
in
to
that
find
book
out.
that we were looking at?
Yeah, that's all that stuff we
That's
were looking
okay.
at.
That's why
It's all right there.
I got kinda busy.
Okay.
Well, we were
look
standing there
at-
staring at a binder and it
You
wasn't.
need to
very
sit down and
clear.
open that thing and go through it page by page, probably.
Hey,
And remember, I told you I would get something put together when I got back. So I'm gonna, I'll push it to the very front burner this
Well,
afterno.
I would just like to know
Actually, the,
soon, rather than,
Yeah.
there's 2 burgers, okay? I gotta keep 2 burgers.
Rather than 2021 and be surprised.
Right, and I don't know, I mean, if we're able to budget out whatever that dollar amount is in 2021 and make every payments there, then we're basically, we're good. What I don't wanna happen is, you know, in 2020, we're like, oh my God, like, we're in deep trouble, you know, I don't want that to happen. So, you know, if we can prepay enough to cover the front end cost, you know, one of the payments a year for all 10 years, then that's great, if not.
Well, I
it'll be-
know that we had figured, just to give you an idea, if we dumped the last 6 years or 5 years, $36,000 into it a year, it'll work out just fine. And we have not done that. We've only, I don't know what that is, half, 360, whatever that is,
180.
180.
For
And
5
we've only
years.
probably put in 80,000, okay? So we're,
Is that a line item in the budget somewhere? Is that
Yeah.
its own thing?
yeah,
Okay. So you think it's about 80K right now?
yep. So we're about $100,000 behind the 8 ball on that right
Right, but I guess that's not,
now. Of saving money back to make the payment,
right.
okay? We needed to keep back 11 or 12 years worth of $36,000 to make it easier on ourselves later.
And I'm not ringing the alarm bells, I just like to have the warm fuzzy of, hey, here's where we're at, here's where, you know, we got enough time, so that's what I'd like to see.
Very good.
So, sorry about the interruption.
No, I have no idea where it was, but that's okay. Anyway, we got that meeting, the budget's looking okay. I guess that's it. We need to have a closed session for 2 purposes. We need to talk about pending litigation. We have a question where that's regarded from one of the board members. And then we need to go also into discussion of negotiations for land sale or acquisition. Okay, we're setting the price on existing assets. Okay? So moved by Derek Lorenzen.
Second.
Andy seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. If you need to hit the John, we'll do that. We will take no action after the
Not yet,
meeting.
but after the,
Are you on the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
what do you need?
Well, I was gonna see, I'd go with you and look at the roof sometime.
Okay, I'll get a hold of it.
Get a ladder.
Are we on yet, Augie?
Oh, yes, we're ready.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I knew you
Is there
had
any
one.
further
Huh?
business
I knew you had
or
one.
information to come before the meeting? I'm sorry, Augie, I missed you, so,
It's all right.
I'd take a motion to adjourn, please. So moved, Derek.
Second.
Second, Dan Bruner. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, we're adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
The 28th, I cannot make it now. Something come up.
Oh,